Enos went to a concert at the Salt Shed on Goose Island, but he never made it home.
They put up this flyer tonight hoping someone in the community will recognize him and call police. His girlfriend tells me this is all very unusual. A 26-year-old never made it home Monday night after attending a concert at the Salt Shed.
This vigil outside the Salt Shed, not just to remember Noah Enos, but his family says to remember all the young people who've gone missing in Chicago and were recovered in bodies of water.
A Great Lakes sailor is missing.
Yeah, a search party is expected to meet later this morning in Waukegan.
And this is the last known video of Gray just outside of Ibiza nightclub in Waukegan. Gray was last seen on camera right there walking down an alley away from the nightclub.
And we have new details this morning on the death of a Northwestern student found in Lake Michigan in December. His body was pulled from Diversey Harbor on December 21st. The Cook County Medical Examiner announced yesterday his cause of death was accidental drowning.
A young businessman disappeared and was later found dead.
There's a male by the shore. He's not moving. Unresponsive.
Nobody saw him leaving.
Wednesday morning, their worst fears were confirmed when police responded to a call just before 2 a.m. about an unresponsive man in the water.
So it's not natural. It's like a possible drowning.
Police have confirmed a body found in the Chicago River is that of 23-year-old Inyaki Bascaran.
The University of Illinois graduate and resident of Lakeview had not been heard from since Halloween early Sunday morning. Yesterday afternoon, just before 5 o'clock, the Chicago Police Department Marine Unit recovered a body from the Chicago River near the 1000 block of South Wells Street. Not long after, police confirmed it was that of Inyaki Bascaran.
They are hundreds of young men from all across the country, their deaths labeled as accidental drownings. Now, these retired detectives say it's murder.
You're talking about almost 300 young men across the country that have been drugged, abducted, held for a period of time, murdered on land, and deposited in the bodies of water to make it look like a drowning.
They say the deaths are all linked by one chilling clue: graffiti of a smiley face found nearby. Veteran NYPD detective Kevin Gannon believes it's the work of more than one killer.
We've been tracking these guys for 12 years now. And there's males and females in this organization. This is a well-structured, organized group with cells spread out in major cities across the United States.
The theory is laid out in a riveting docuseries, The Smiley Face Killers: The Hunt for Justice, airing on the Oxygen Network.
He was just the kid next door that you would want your daughter to date.
Stephanie Wellson's son Brian was a 21-year-old Navy veteran who was studying finance when he disappeared on New Year's Day 2000. His body was found 2 months later floating in a lake in Gary, Indiana.
Each of our victims fit such a narrowly defined, specific set of demographics.
Highly intelligent, athletic, from great families.
No fat kids, there's no really skinny, short kids.
In 2009, William Hurley's death was eerily similar. He was found in the Charles River in Boston. Nearby, a smiley face, his mom Lynn.
Such a sweet, tender-hearted, handsome young man.
Could these and the hundreds of others have fallen victim to a group these former detectives call the Smiley Face Killers? The FBI sent us this statement: "We have not developed any evidence substantiating the theory that these deaths are the work of a serial killer or killers. Still, these mothers remain convinced their sons' deaths were not accidental."
And I'm hoping that justice can be done.
I'm angry. I'm so angry.
Today, before we crack open another enigmatic case, I want to talk about a real-life savior that's helping me get back into my post-summer routine without the chaos. Cook Unity. As someone who's always juggling late-night research on shadowy government plots and piecing together crime scene puzzles, along with recording all of these episodes, my schedule is jam-packed, and finding time to eat well feels like solving an unsolvable riddle. That's where Cook Unity comes in. It's a chef-powered marketplace delivering freshly prepared meals inspired by global cuisines, which I love, delivered right to your door. I have been eating their meals for over a week now, and honestly, the convenience is an absolute game changer for me. What stands out most is the gourmet dining at home experience. These are restaurant-quality dishes crafted by award-winning chefs, like the seared salmon with lemon herb sauce by Chef Esther Choi, which arrived arrives in sustainable packaging, ready to heat in minutes. So as you guys know, sometimes life gets in the way. The summer has been absolutely crazy with my filming schedule. I've honestly probably been out of the house traveling more than I've actually been here in my home, and coming back from these trips, getting back to a strict routine was a daunting challenge. But Cook Unity so far has made it exciting with their culinary variety. I mean, just imagine having hundreds of dishes to choose from each week, from keto-friendly options like the grilled chicken with roasted vegetables to vegan delights that pack flavor without compromise. And the best part, these meals are cheaper than groceries for someone like me. No more wasting money on ingredients that spoil before I can use them. Cook Unity helps you cut down on food waste, and honestly, it just streamlines your eating process throughout the day. With Cook Unity, you can literally eat better and save money. There's no downside. So if you're ready to add some spontaneity and nourishment to your routine, go to the link in the description of this video now to try Cook Unity and get 50% off your first order of chef-made meals delivered fresh to your door. Seriously, Cook Unity is offering my viewers 50% off their first order. Just click the link in the description below and use my code Paranormal50 to try it out. Thanks to Cook Unity for sponsoring this video and helping me fuel my mystery hunts with gourmet ease. Now, let's get back to the video. Once again, the link is in the description. I highly recommend if you're looking for a service like this, you go with Cook Unity because it's just delicious. It's so easy. You can get such healthy options. There are no downsides in my opinion. But regardless, let's get back to today's video.
Hey brother, I was going to ask you what was the name. We're doing the other bars first before. We're over here. We're going to do the Lizzie McNeil's where Soumakis came out of, you know, on the shore there, on Lakeshore Drive in Fullerton. Yeah, it's Fullerton Parkway and Lakeshore Drive, whatever. Well, right now we're going to go to the scene where Matthew Soumakis, the young male, 31-year-old white male, came into town for business. He was like a tech guy, and he was staying at the Sheraton Hotel, and he had got up the morning, he rolled in, I think, on the 4th, and on the 5th he had a meeting with a convention with guys, and he had spoken to his mother in the morning, and he told her he was on his way to the convention, and he never got there. People at work didn't see him, hadn't seen him the whole day. They tried getting in touch with him. He was one of those guys that was like instantaneously on his phone. If his wife called, his mother called, anybody, nobody heard from him. And then he winds up in the Chicago River 15 days later on December 20th, drowned, half frozen. And what happened was, there was a witness that came forward, like a barmaid, and said that we don't know it's really him. She believed that she saw him in that bar almost all day for like, maybe cut the meeting and he didn't go, and he was there for 5 hours, but 5 hours would have been from like 8 o'clock at night to 1 in the morning, and he left at 1:30 hours when the bar closed, 1:30 a.m. and walked out and was seen like on they think it was him on camera walking to the Sheraton Hotel, but he never made it, and then he winds up in the Chicago River like as if he just fell over the rail. The name of the bar is Lizzie McNeil's. The only thing that drew me to that is all guys would use similarities to other cases, or other victims and names or bars or whatever, because we have a lot of the same bars, whether they're brothers bars or there was a couple of bars in, whether it was Chicago, Wisconsin, over in Madison. They had other bars that they were going to, which all had similar names. This one with the McNeil's name was our first victim. That would be something that they might want to use to like taunt us as the investigators. Like, here's another one for you, or did you figure it out? Did you put it together that this is connected? So that was the only one reason. But
so your first victim that was highly publicized, I guess, and what you kind of count as being the official start of your theory, I mean back then especially, is Patrick O'Neill.
Patrick McNeil.
Patrick McNeil.
Same last name, McNeil. So we looked at that, but when you look at his autopsy report, I mean, he was partially frozen. He did not drown because he has 413 grams of fluid in his right lung and only 388 in his left lung. And most people's lungs are anywhere from 300 grams each to 400. So he's right there. He's averaging 400. That's a lung. That's 800 grams. Usually a drowning is over 1,000 grams, and most of them are like 1,100 to 1,200. But you can see what he had here. His brain showed he had cerebral edema, so he had swelling in his brain, which was manifested, they said, by the flattening of the cortical convolutions. He has narrowing of the sulci, he has whitening of the temporal bones, and when you look at all that, what it says from an anatomic diagnosis, early state of decomposition, because he was partly frozen from the river, which I put together. Cardiomegaly, which was 446 grams, which means he just has an enlarged heart. He's got biventricular hypertrophy, which is the thickening of the walls, which could also, sounds like he's has a bad heart from his heart ventricles. He has bronchial asthma, he had gallbladder cholesteroltosis, which is like cholesterol in your gallbladder. It's just that it produces polyps, but it's a non-cancerous thing. And then he had hemorrhage in his petrous temporal bones, which that one is the one that interests me because it says that's trauma, which can lead to hearing loss, facial nerve paralysis, and intracranial hemorrhaging. And he does have edema in his skull, in his brain. So somehow that tells me, regardless of whatever his heart was doing, he didn't die from a heart attack or any of that. He may have down the road, who knows? This is the place here, and it's right on the water. Did he really just leave the bar? And we could pull down there and
yeah, you can
go
park
out.
now, Connor, if you find a spot.
We can go down there, and I can show you around where he came from in the Sheraton Hotel. But that thing tells me he had trauma. Somebody hit him. No different than the guys in Martin Gutierrez or Kristen Pugh or Jeff Jones down in Austin being hit in the back of the skull, and somebody could have hit him. Whether the guy he was talking to an older gentleman with a beard and a gray hair, they left together, and he winds up in the water. Did this guy lure him out of the bar? I mean, usually we look at our victims, our perps are eventually going to be defendants as being younger, but doesn't mean that they couldn't have older individuals, because we know this stuff has been going on for years, and which we know from information that we have that people are brought into this group as young. We know that these kids are recruited. A lot of them are recruited out of facilities, almost like, but it's not like the young men's club or the YMCA or whatever, but they're kind of like group home things where they can get these kids that are looking for something. They don't have their family, they're troubled kids or whatever, and they bring them in and they indoctrinate them into the system. So we know that there are older individuals that are running this. Could this gentleman be one of those individuals? We don't know, but that was the last thing that he was with. Yeah, and he had some serious injuries, so it tells me that it wasn't just him walking out and being, unless they drugged him and falling into the water. I mean, he had some type of injury to his cranial, where he had damage to the ear, he could have had facial paralysis, something that could have even thrown him off balance, Which one is the Sheraton? I mean, it could be over here. I'm not even sure. But this is where he could have been walking, and they're going to try to say he just fell over this friggin' thing and fell in. I'm not completely buying. He just walked along it. And this isn't low, like that wall in Texas.
Yeah. That
thing is here. You can fall over. It's a cement wall. I mean, a brick wall. You can fall. This guy didn't just fall into this thing. I mean, it's a beautiful place to come out and have a drink, and he's going. Walking back to the hotel, and then winds up in the Chicago River. What happened to him that he didn't go to the meeting is going to be beyond anybody's, imagination. I don't know what happened, especially for a guy like that. It'd be different if it was like he was drunk from the night before, you would say, but he wasn't. He was talking to his family in the morning, his mom or whatever, and then the next thing you know, he's gone. It's just that quick.
And then what happened to him, for the days that he was missing?
Well, he was missing 15 days. He was found on December 20th.
That's what I mean. Where was he?
Well, if you look at it, it's like, I understand it's cold, but he should have had some water in him.
Yeah.
He should have been drowned, which tells me what was the cause of death. This isn't like Jay Poho, who's got, tons of injuries. He was beaten. He's got a broken hyoid, which means he was manually strangled. They took his camera, obviously because he was going down supposedly to take pictures of the bridges at the time. He was doing a thing for the university, for college. And he's got lacerations that go down to his femur. And they finally made that case a homicide. But they have no idea. They're thinking that's the homeless people. It could be the homeless people, only because my guys have never really, or my gang, because there's women involved, they've never really assaulted people like that. And most of the time, there's no money taken, there's no wallets, they'll take the phones. They may send messages to the phone or transmit messages from the phone as if the guy's still alive.
Right.
To respond, because what they're saying is like, we had him at this time. With Todd Geib, they did that. They sent the message when they know he was already incapacitated, but they were letting them know that, yeah, we got him. They were sending a message, but nothing like with this guy. Whereas, could somebody have done that to Poho? I don't know. The homeless people, they'd have to do some really bad stuff, because it looks like they said they took him in the water and they cut him up with like propeller blades and whatever. So that's some pretty sick stuff if you just want to rob the guy and do his camera.
Right.
Could my guys get into that and doing some torture things? That case is kind of an aberration as far as all the other cases. It doesn't really fit the generalized pattern of what we have. Like I said, most of the people were hurt except for Randy Lexfold and Jeff Jones, both going off the same bridge, years later. And Jeff winds up living and had the GHB in him, which is showing us that somebody did drug him. And he said that I didn't have more than 2 or 3 drinks. I think he only had 2. He's like a big guy like you at 220. He wasn't even like a skinny guy like me. So it's like 2 drinks for a guy like that wouldn't have affected him, right? So obviously something else was introduced to his body,
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
After doing this for, 20 plus years and researching these cases, being on the scene, working with families, what does it feel like for you, just in general, looking out at a river at night? Does it evoke any sort of emotion or thought from you?
Yeah, it bothers me to know that this was how they spent their last night. You know what I mean? Right. And everybody just writing it off like it's just some stupid drunk male that unfortunately accidentally fell into the water. When this is a lot more serious than that. That's what bothers me. Because that was somebody's son or somebody's daughter, and there's nothing worse than losing a child. I don't care what anybody says.
I'd imagine it'd be a weird feeling. Even for me, having my kind of minimal involvement that I've had being in a river at night now is just kind of like...
It's eerie.
It's eerie.
It is.
When you think about what the people are doing and getting away with, it honestly makes me a little bit angry too sometimes, because you're thinking this is what they like to do, where they like to do it. And there's so many people when you walk around, for me, I think people are just blissfully unaware,
Yeah, I'd like to be like one of those people who hold a sign out, like, watch the river, be careful. It's like, but
or partying on a boat.
If they went in right away this first night and they weren't incapacitated from the drugs, it's still, everybody thinks like drowning's peaceful. I still think you're fighting for your life, so it's still kind of an eerie feeling. And no matter how you die, it's got to be, you're fighting for your life or whatever. It's got to be traumatic. But what bothers me more is I'm under the belief that it's not happening the first night. Most of the time they're being held for an extended period of time. So what's happening to them while they're being held. And from stuff we know, they would hold them, and I think there's some mind torture, like, how do you feel about dying tonight? How do you feel, how do you feel about dying? And the next night you're like, oh man, am I going to get out of here? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. And that kind of terror, I mean, that's one of those like a terror movie.
Right.
And then you never know when they're really gonna get rid of you. And I don't think even some of these kids that have drowned, that have water in their lungs, nobody's even testing. One, they don't test diatoms to see where in the river they drowned. Because if you found out where they actually drowned, that's the original crime scene. If you went back there, you might see, especially if it wasn't a place like this, if it's near a lake, you might find footprints, you might find tire tracks, you might find stuff that we found at other scenes. You might find somebody's cigarette, you might find a piece of clothing when they were going through the woods to bring them to the spot. Because we had one kid that was down in Wisconsin, and his name slips my mind right now, but now that we're up to like 700, but when I had the first 100, I could tell you who they were, where they were. I was like Aaron Brockovich. Now it's like way more difficult. But I remember from where he was, I said they were going to take him right down to the dock and put him in the water. He was 40 miles away. That body didn't float. They drove him down, went through like a wooded area with brush. We saw broken branches. So you're looking for broken branches, you're looking for possible clothing, whatever, where they would have dumped the body, and that's where the body's found. And once you went down and saw where the body was, and then you go backwards, you could see where they probably put him in. And if you're really investigating, you'd look for, like I said, all the other supplemental evidence that might be there that might lead you to what might be. I think before he went into the water, they killed him on land. You know, somewhere where there was leaves and stuff, because he has leaves. I mean, they've known that drowning victims have gone to the bottom, and because you're disoriented, especially if it's at night, you're trying to swim and you think you're going up, but you might be going down. And that's why a lot of times they have mud or something in their hand when they die, because they're looking for a way out. But you could get loose sand or something in. It might even be leaves if there was on the bottom, but he had so much leaves stuck in the bottom of his throat, which is they call the lumen. And the way the body was so decomposed, unless he was out in the sun burning somewhere where somebody would have seen him or smelt him, he looked like he was somebody who was like in a car, somewhere where he was baking, you know what I mean? And so he didn't look like the typical drowning either, you know what I mean? So, yeah, we had him. He was just coming, grabbed a quart of beer coming from playing basketball and was crossing the bridge going home. And he doesn't make it home? This is the bar right here, so, and this obviously is beautiful out here.
Two questions. So, he was drinking here, left.
Right, for 5 hours supposedly, right? Left and was walking home towards the Sheridan, and then he winds up in the Chicago River.
Traumatic injuries as well.
Yeah, so, you know, that doesn't look like, if he fell off that to the wall, fell off the wall into the water, you usually fall this way, you don't fall backwards in your head, and then, you know, it's just the same kind of thing, so.
And then for you, I guess, before we wrap up here, what was it like when you actually learned the name of this place and connected it to your first case?
Yeah, no, it's kind of like, oh man, really? Are they really doing this? Yeah, right now we're gonna pass the bar here, the hook and ladder, where Inyaki Bascaran was first drinking with his friends, but whether or not he was drugged in here, we don't know, but because he made it safely to the other bar, which is Celeste Bar. in town, and then that was the last pour that that he was ever seen. I mean, he came out of there and then wound up in the river. So.
And when did this happen? Like 2020s?
Yeah, he was like 22, 23. I think
yeah, it was 22.
On my pad, I have the right date. I think it's 22. I'm trying to think what the exact date was, because they all have, some of these dates are significance too of when they go missing and stuff. So,
is there anything specifically strange about this case that sticks out to you?
Just what transpired with him. I mean, he just really fit the pattern of just another victim. I mean, I can pull up the autopsy report and show you. I can tell you what was on it, but don't believe that that he was really drowned. So, Jordan, I'll take us right to the bar. You can get a look at it, and then you can see where the river was from there, and try to show you exactly where the body was recovered.
At this point, Kevin took us to meet his friend Jordan, a private investigator from the Chicago area who has worked closely with the family members of victims who were found dead in Chicago's waterways. The tour that followed was absolutely dark and served as an odyssey through the case, and the information you're about to learn will blow your mind.
Private Detective Jordan A. Scher. That's me.
Straight to the point. So, where are we right now?
This is Hubbard Street. This is Celeste Bar. It's called Celeste Bar, but it's more like a club environment, really. This is where Inyaki Bascaran was last seen. Okay, you've seen on surveillance video walking out of here. Last seen to the public, but there is footage that the police never released, but we know of via the medical examiner's documentation that we have video of him walking along the river's edge southbound. Playing devil's advocate, one could presume he wasn't from the city. He had friends in Wrigleyville area, so one could presume that he was disoriented and he was using the river as a guide path, walking back north, but he has south and north mixed up. It's the only plausible explanation of that, unless you're looking something more sinister, of course.
And there is something more sinister because he doesn't have any fluid in his lungs. His right lung was, we looked at the autopsy report, I think it was 381, and his left lung, I think, was 436 for the amount of fluid in his lungs. So if you look at this autopsy report, right there it is. Right lung is 431 grams, and his left lung was 356. It wasn't 386, it was 356. So you add that up, you got 787 grams. So most lungs are anywhere between 300 and 400 grams. So one's under 400, one's just over 400. They average about 400.
What does that mean?
That means it's a normal lung weight. Usually most drowning victims have a lung weight of over 1,000 grams. Some of them up as much as 1,200. So for him to be at just around 800, then I don't see how he drowned. So what was the cause of death? That's probably why they made it undetermined.
Right.
He goes, undetermined is the catch-22. Could be an accident, could be a homicide. We don't want to make it a homicide, but we know it wasn't an accident. Let's just call it undetermined. Relax everybody's mind. Nothing's going on. That's what that is.
Right.
Because I'm a defense investigator, so I think in terms of devil's advocate. What do you say to someone who would say, well, that's a pathologist being someone, that's a dry drowning? What would you say to that?
I say dry drowning happens in less than 1% of the cases.
Yeah.
You can have that. I know Michael Barter said in one of the cases, but he's wrong, and he's one of the best pathologists in the country. He said that would Raleigh strain. A Raleigh strain did not go in the wintertime. The water's extremely cold. You're allowing spasms. And water doesn't go down, so you almost like suffocate yourself. You lose the ability to breathe, and then you go underwater. You could have a dry drowning, but it doesn't happen as many times as people think. There's usually water in there. They're not testing for I tried to get to the family before they did it, but I wasn't able to reach the father because I know he knew something would happen to his son. And I want you, like I was trying to tell you how much I was trying to get it to, and then you tried to help me get to him, and you got to the aunt.
Yeah, the aunt.
And she was the only one. The family was at that point so devastated. I think at that point they had found the body. And I was like, well, I told you, test for GHB, send it to NMS, let's do all the tests that they can do for any kind of derivatives of some kind of doping agent, and they can do it from GABA to whatever. They're the best. And I've paid for a lot of those for the families. Just said, whatever it is, I don't care. It's usually like $300, $350, but it's worth the money. The cities aren't going to do it because they don't want to invest the money, and they want to close these things as quick as possible. And like I said, they're under the assumption that they're drunk kids that unfortunately fell into the water and drowned. But that's not the circumstance in most of these cases.
And we've talked at length that it's not just about the last place. With a lot of these cases, this is a case in point where the victim was last seen. It's about the place they were seen previously. So we both agree that you've coined this theory long ago, long before I came in the mix, that the honeypot is involved. So if you're looking for a honeypot, meaning a female allure, or it could be a male if it's right in terms of that. But the point is, it's someone that's used to entice, just like they have a security person on standby as well. They have a lookout person. This is a group. They all have their different roles of concerted agreement together. But the honeypot would be vital in the previous bar where the person was, because you can actually see that interaction on camera. You're not going to see that in the last bar.
If nothing else, she could be a distraction. And distraction is a big key. I mean, there was a video, did you ever see that video that was out where there was like two people talking? And this guy was walking around going like this, like making believe that he was drugging people's cuffs like this. And like the guy's, you so interested in the conversation with me that you didn't say, hey, what are you doing like over my friend's drink? I mean, he's holding his cup like this, and the guy's going like this, and then going to another person and going to a girl, and like,
yeah.
I'm like, man, that's bad. They showed that video, it was like a 5 or 7 minute video. I mean, he went around like 20, 30 people, man. Nobody even acted on it. Like, hey, what are you doing? Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? It was like, there was nothing. And I was like, whoa.
No one even noticed.
No one even noticed. And like he said, if you have a female involved, she doesn't have to be the one doing it. She can be the one distracting you while the other guys go, excuse me. And then somebody comes by and drops something. And it's not a drug where you got to stir it and stuff or somebody would see it or taste it. It's already diluted. GHB, odorless, colorless, tasteless. They got that in a Visine bottle. They put 2 drops or a quick squirt. Boom, you're there. They just wait for you at the end of the night. And it's usually always at closing time, because what happens at closing time, especially in the winter? You go for your coat. Wait, I got to go to the bathroom real quick. You know, and then
you're more inebriated, your defenses are less down.
Right, and you come out and then like, where'd he go? Or where's my friend? You go outside and
everything's mixed up.
Or the girl lures him out, and then the guys are waiting around the corner, man. They just whisk him away and pick him up, put him in a car. And that's why our friend out here, Ken Weck, had the thing where he's like, you got a cab, an Uber, don't get in. You know, because there was a lot of people who were getting cabs, and in New York they had it where they pulled a bunch of guys and they were taking them to the bank, making them unload their money. And we had one kid, the mother called me and said, my son was one of those, and she said, get out of that car. And he goes, stay in the car. And he goes, my mother says to get out. He probably was already drunk, but he got out. She said, get out of that car. And he was like, get back in, but he didn't want to run after him, drag him back in. And we have those bars right by there is the Mirage. And the Mirage, everything has a clue. The Mirage. Is it an accident? Are they being drugged?
I love that.
Are they being drowned? And right outside the Mirage is the big smiley face. And there was another clue right in there. And they had a word there. That word had a Native American thing. And there's a Native American twist to that. There's so many different avenues. And we said it, so many different.
That's part of it. That's clearly part of the MO. Is when you said the Mirage, I love that, because that's clearly part of the MO, is keeping people on their heels, making it seem as it's an accident. Is it an accident? Is this something else? Like the whole Ken Wax thing, he was pointing out something that, hey, that's a public service announcement. You know, there's nothing wrong with pointing out a public service announcement. We don't think that's what's happening in these cases, because these are premeditated. They're not crimes of opportunity in the same regard as a fake Uber or something like that.
But some of these crimes, sometimes they have the person marked. Sometimes, like Riley Straight, he might not have been an intended victim. that's ad hoc for the night.
Yes.
Like they just see somebody and go,
Serial offender will take what they can get.
let's grab this kid.
Yeah.
They'll just grab him, whatever. Riley just happened to walk. First of all, those bars should never be removing people. If they're so drunk that you can't serve them anymore, why do you send them off into the street where they can walk in outside and get hit by a car?
As far as the bartenders being involved, wasn't that the case with individual from Columbus, the Ugly Tuna Saloon, and the bar across the street wasn't the same owner, and the bar across the street had been, a bartender there had been complicit? I thought that had been proven to be responsible for a drugging.
Yeah, I don't know, but
Either before or after, at some point, it's the same owner.
The Ugly Tuna Saloon, which one?
That was Brian.
You talking about Brian Schaefer?
No, Schaefer. Well, he's from here.
Brian Schaefer from Ohio.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, but I mean, and I did that case. I saw exactly how they got him. They had, the bar area that building was under construction. That's why you see him going up the escalator, but you never see him coming down. He went out the bar, around the side, came down a staircase, had a long hallway that came out to the street, but where there was a big eye in the sky that was on the corner, and they had another one way back where the
We've seen that theme in
but you
one of the cases here.
You could come out, if you put him right in the car right outside that door, it missed that camera and it circumvented the one over here if the car was pulled up, because that was the parking lot where you would get your ticket to drop your car. If you didn't go back here past that wall and you pull the car right out, put him right in, he was gone. That was it. Never to be seen again. And they never found that body. Well, he's one of the few bodies that was never found.
Well, something interesting to point out too is Connor was drugged, like you guys were talking about. He was drugged at a bar.
That bar that I got drugged at, a lot of the people that I know, a lot of fraternity, sorority girls, they know that bar, so many people are getting drugged there, and a lot of them think that it's the bartender who's doing it. And when I got drugged, it wasn't for me. It was actually for the girls that I was with. They ordered the drinks at the bar, walked right to the table, and within that 20 feet, I had gotten drugged. So within that 20 feet, it was either the bartender or someone that was real sneaky in between that point. And so I ended up drinking the drink that got drugged, and I don't remember a thing that happened that night.
That happened to you too?
Yeah, in my case, I'm not going to say which one it is, but we're very close. I'll say that, we're very close to it. I'll always remember this individual's face. The male who I was talking to at the bar with the bartender. I just separated just quick enough to get another drink, and he's bringing up, the only thing to keep me stimulated, that could keep me stimulated that long, would be sports or something, quasi-philosophical, intellectual. That's the only thing you're going to get me stimulated in conversation long enough for you, because I was there with a female. So if I'm neglecting her for that long, it has to be a good conversation. Also, I wanted to drink, and what do you want to do when you want to drink? You want to drink more? And so he's like, here, I'll buy you a drink, okay, whatever. But then when I'm talking to the bartender, we're right there talking to the bartender as well, and I remember I said it tasted sweet. So I said, is there alcohol in that? It tastes kind of sweet. And I remember there was an exchange that went on between him and her, and he said, yeah, he kind of did a little taste test afterwards, after I'd already drank it. It was gone, right? And he said, oh yeah, that's definitely strong alcohol, but here, if you feel that way, drink mine. And I did. Stupid, right? I didn't think about it. I drank that, and the only way I can describe it is I felt like I had a psychiatric break. Never ever had an experience like that before or since. It just felt like I was in a matrix. I don't know how to describe it, right? Just all reality, alternative reality. Never. Now, what drug produces that symptoms? I've looked this up since, to no avail. I'm not a chemist. I've discussed with Kevin. This is something that I believe is the missing link. There's two missing links to us really, really solving these. Looking further into the phones and the apps that are used to communicate beforehand. As I said, these are premeditated, so dating apps is huge. It's being neglected by law enforcement, fully inventorying their phones. And the other thing is a chemist, a super duper nerd chemist. So even just outside of GHB, I believe there's even something else, because I don't think GHB would have produced those effects on me. I couldn't seem to replicate that in my research. I don't know.
I had a doctor that gave me a drug that he said he was looking at. He was pretty sharp guy.
Yeah.
So I'm
It
free.
felt like I was caught.
Good.
I wasn't, my body, because my body was in control. It was my mind. It was a break. It was very strange. And so, to my knowledge, GHB is more of a physical incapacitation. So that's why I didn't feel it was as likely for this scenario. But before I forget, the other point I wanted to make, aside from that, when we were talking about the other bar that he was at earlier in the night, Inyaki, the point I was making about that was there's boots on the ground investigation that are being neglected in these cases. Very simple, very basic stuff, right? We
don't even have a missing person here in Chicago. They tell me.
And Kevin's the man. He I'm not former police, but he is, and he's calling it what it is. He's calling it what it is. And Noah's case was grossly neglected as far as gathering video footage. I visited so many people that said, well, you're the first, I'm like, have the police been here? No, you're the first guy. Have the police been here? No, you're the first one. Over and over again. And that happened with that case, with Hook and Ladder, with Inyaki's case. It was bothering me so much. I finally went there, and I went there, I think I said it was 3 weeks, something like that, too late. There was the video footage. Yeah. It was no longer retained. She said I would have gave it to you, but it was gone. And sure enough, the police never went there. And that, I think, was that was a huge clue I think that was missing in his case.
The question is whether they're doing it on purpose or they're just overworked. Chicago obviously has a lot of shootings and gun arrests.
I'm not insinuating that it's on purpose. I think more often than not, what happens is if you do see something, insidious or nefarious or what have you from law enforcement, I think it's more like a cleanup job. Like, oops, we should have done this. We didn't do this. So now we got to kind of, do one of those. I think it's more like that than it doesn't start out as an ulterior, objective. I don't think it starts out that way. But yeah, it's a byproduct of being overworked more than lack of care even. More than lack of care is overworked. But I think lack of care is an element. I think it is.
When Jordan was talking about Noah, that's Noah Enos. We're going to do that case, right? And that probably the next one after this.
Next one's Krzysztof.
We're going to do Krzysztof first.
There's a male by the shore. He's not moving. Unresponsive.
A body recovered from Oak Street Beach early Wednesday has been identified as missing 21-year-old Krzysztof Schubert, a Polish businessman who'd been working in IT in the Chicago suburbs since November. He was last seen Saturday night at a River North bar with co-workers. Wednesday morning, their worst fears were confirmed when police responded to a call just before 2 a.m. about an unresponsive man in the water.
So not natural. It's like possible drowning.
A missing persons flyer remains outside the bar he was last seen around 9:45 Saturday night. There are surveillance cameras outside the bar and at the beach where he was found. So far, police are calling this a death investigation.
One of the victims actually was one of my employees as a security guard. I don't believe, though, when I said victims, I need to retract a little bit. I don't believe he actually was one of ours. I don't. But I'm pointing that out because, I think that we've been accused, Kevin certainly has over the years, and I'm probably going to get lumped into that we have confirmation bias, that we're trying to be salacious, or you've heard some of those accusations, I'm sure you have. And
I've gotten them myself.
Yeah, and so I could think, oh, they killed one of my employees to see if I paid attention or whatever. I actually, I'm not going to say his name, so it doesn't matter, but I actually do believe, I talked with his family, his brother's a great guy. He struggled with mental illness. Okay, I do believe it was, okay. So I try to point those out because I think some of these are murders. I think some of these are unequivocally murders. I think a lot of them are not. But the trick is in looking at knowing which is which, having that eye of discernment, and not just trying to lump everything in for views, but at the same time, not just saying, oh, there's nothing happening. They're just drunk kids going to the river and peeing. That's just as stupid,
Exactly. Where are we right now? Obviously, hallowed, known as the bar you've taken us to, but what happened here?
That was Krzysztof Schubert. He was our second victim, that's Inyaki Bascaran, who went missing.
And this was the last place he was seen drinking?
Yeah.
You say Krzysztof. I just want to make sure you said Krzysztof. Okay,
yeah.
so I thought you were saying Inyaki.
What's his last name?
Krzysztof Schubert. Krzysztof Schubert. He was in from Poland. He was on some kind of I don't know if it was some kind of program or what exactly it was. He was living in Joliet. He was working in Joliet. All of his family was in Poland, though. He had no family here. He barely knew anyone really here. So again, you know, I'm going back to the postulate that these are premeditated through apps, because it wasn't through any other means. He didn't know anybody. He had no channels really to develop some other type of animosity against him, unless you're of the ilk that it was a accident, of course, which I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think
so. And obviously, you know, he didn't know anybody. I mean, whether or not he was talking to anybody on app, I don't know. I mean, you would, again, they'd like to think that the police would look into that, see what, because we found out even when we did our other cases. And people even, when Luke Holman died, somebody had left a message on his computer as if like it was disturbed, to say the least. So you don't know if people were messing with people and somebody lured him to the bar, or he just found from the neighborhood. So let me just check the different places. I heard this is a good place to go.
I think it's very interesting because you guys took us to these two spots. It's like a 2-minute walk between them, just like in La Crosse. All those bars are right next to each other. Same in Austin on Rainey Street. They're all right there. I mean, I was there with the victim. We were drinking at the bars that they always say people are drinking at. So I know that that's true.
You got a step further, because you're onto something. You got a step further. Why is that? Kevin knows this. Where's a serial offender gonna offend?
Place that they love and know.
That's true. Geographical profiling of the British schools, bar none, more accurate than the FBI's. So that's true. But beyond that, somewhere where they know it's gonna blend in.
Right.
What was I talking about off camera to you just a little bit about this area? It's getting kind of seedy, right?
Yeah.
It's getting kind of, you know, there's problems down here.
You're suggesting, I guess, that an area like this, these perpetrators could blend in.
Well, yeah, where are you gonna be? You're a serial killer, so where are you gonna hunt?
Right.
You're gonna hunt where the meat is fresh, you know, where there's more chance there to get something, right? I mean, you're not gonna go where there's a nice hybrid dude. You're not gonna go where there's the lone buck and you're never gonna catch it. You know, hey, you guys, you're your pick. What do you want? You go here, you go here. You miss over here, you miss over here. You don't know the problem. Eventually, by the end of the night, you're gonna grab some money, especially if they got multiple participants like our guy. I'm telling you, it's men and women, but our group. This group we've been following for years. I'll tell you, it's almost militaristic. They operate just like you would if you were coming in and
Kevin, wouldn't we
pick somebody or
former military? Wouldn't
some people. But I've already said some of the military. I think the military kids that have been chosen have been victims were the ones that they tried to recruit. Now, once they expose themselves to it, just like my regular victims said, Todd Guyman and Tommy Booth, they were gone the next weekend. And they were asked to join the group. Todd was driven all the way to East Lansing, where I know we have a cell, where our last victim was Brendan Santo. And at the time, I was trying to help the father, and then he said, "What? We can't find him." I said, "I'm telling you, there's a possibility he's still alive. We got to get some bloodhounds. Search dog, I try to get some bloodhounds for him. To get out there, I would search areas that are really like the fact in the area or warehouse district where they would be able to save a body for a period of time. I mean, well, you know, undisclosed to anybody else. Look for an area like that. I couldn't get out there at the time. It was near the holidays, and father didn't want to do it. Then when he did call me and he wanted to do it, it was like the week before Christmas, and he never got a chance to do anything. His sister had originally called me here. And I knew where he was going to be found. He was going to be found at Red River, where my other two victims were from down back in 97, 98, and within geologically strong. So, but they had a private investigator. His wife said he doesn't want to help him. He went out there and he found them in the river. The river, I mean, that was one of those kind of rivers that were like 40 feet across. It was shallow. You could basically walk. We should have drawn that. Even
like a glorified pond, dude.
Yeah, it was like one of those. It's like the canals in Israel. You know, those guys are stuffing canals. You can get out of it. Out the water going up to here. But they found him, you know, in a log jam kind of thing. And he was caught up, and the designator found him.
but were there any things with Krzysztof's disappearance and the discovery of his body that stick out as being highly unusual?
I admittedly, I'm thinking out loud of one of my staff members. She kind of laughs at me because I kept calling them the two Polish kids, and Krzysztof is Polish, but one of the other victims is not. And it's not that I'm making light of it, but it's because I was getting it wrong. And I know that I would conflate those two cases. As far as one of them was walking near the water, and it was ruled accidental because they could see that, or I'm sorry, it was undetermined, rather, because they knew he was right near it, but didn't know what happened after that, and that's where he was found. And one of them, they literally see him go into the water. And that might be Krzysztof, but I don't want to swear on that. No? The other one? Okay, then it's Sorvino. I get him and Peter Sorvino.
No, that was Peter Sorvino.
Yeah.
His rigor mortis is fixed at present in equal degrees in all extremities. Fixed means it's already settled. It's fixed. That usually takes anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, usually around 10 hours. So to fix, right? So it's fixed. Fixed, bright red, lividity. That's the lividity you'll see that, like, if you were laying face down anteriorly, you'd have a line here, a demarcation line, and you'd be all red and pink in the front, and the back would be all white. That's from all the blood settling there. And then if they move you,
and you know,
before 8 to 10 hours, the rest of the blood will go down, and you'll have it on both sides. That's how I was able to prove the Rodney Reed case, which Stacey Stites said he didn't kill her. So what does it say on this thing?
Lividity is how you know a body's moved every day. That's what it's key for.
Right.
Bright red lividity was distributed on the anterior and posterior surface of the body. Greater in the head area, except in the areas exposed to pressure. That means what I told you about if he was leaning against something, or there was a rock, or
that's right,
or a pipe, or a bed.
He had trauma as well.
That piece would be white.
Right.
Because the blood will go right, because the blood can't settle because there's pressure against it.
Didn't you have trauma from the rocks?
No, let me just finish first, please. But if he's got it anteriorly and posteriorly, drowning victims float face down. Even if they were put in dead on their back, when you have it on both, that means you were dead for a period of time of 10 hours, and somebody moved that body and put it on the back. So he might have been on his back somewhere after they abducted him, after they killed him. If he doesn't have water, now he's on his back, the blood settles, they move him maybe 4 or 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and all the traffic is subsided and everything's calm. Take him, dump him in the water. Now he's got lividity on both sides. They may have held him for over a day. He might not even went in that night. Because you're talking about a 20-hour period, you know, for that blood to settle. So unless the other 10 hours settled at the scene where he was dumped, somebody held him for at least 10 hours. So that tells me this isn't a normal trap. This kid was abducted.
Is there any symbolism that you found, like on this street, or anything that makes sense with the patterns? I mean, even if you don't want to be specific with what you found, have you seen it here?
I've seen some, not in these bars. Most of the time, in some of the bars we were in, you'll find some stuff that leave markings in the bathroom, whatever. But are these two bars? No, I haven't.
Well, I could say in the alleys, yes, but they were Smileys, and it's inconclusive how old they were. I'll be fair about that. It's inconclusive, but were there Smileys in these alleys? Both these alleys, yes.
Is there one that we could see before we leave?
On the bar.
Potentially. This is. You know, it's a long time ago when I was here, but it's potential.
Is it within walking distance?
It's potential that they haven't cleaned them up. I'm saying literally the alley behind here and the alley behind Celeste. So where we just were. If you want to look, we can do that.
Like document.
But I'm going to tell you that they've done a lot. They repaint a lot of, you know. So it's hard telling if it's still there.
Do they ever come back to mark locations?
Yeah, some spots. Yeah. They've had them, and we've had them on in Pennsylvania. We had them on trash cans right behind the bar that our victim was at. So
see, you'll know right away because you can just look at all the dumpsters, the walls. It's pretty clean. You know that means they've been repainted.
We were in Pittsburgh. Nicole James had not just a smiley on the back of the bar he was in, but then they had markings that were consistent with the gang graffiti on the garbage cans. So, I mean, they were telling us, you know, like, we were here, we did this. This is actually pretty clean.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They came over these lots. I didn't think we'd find them, but I took photos. I'll give you the photos. Oh, that would be great.
Like this is
took a lot of photos up and down all these alleys. I don't know, well over 100. I don't know.
But what I'll say that's interesting is that, you know, when it comes to this stuff, just showing to people on camera the fact that they do repaint areas like this frequently.
Well,
they're ignoring the pattern, and by having these places be repainted or repurposed, you're losing that crucial evidence that could be documented. You know?
Well, that's why we try to go out right away. I mean,
well, also as far as a naysayer who would say that's an old Smiley, like I said, could it have been someone old?
Look.
Well, what?
There
You got a smiley? No, that's a seer.
No, that looks like a smiley. Or what? What do you think? Is that a smiley?
I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is. It's like a C actually.
Well, it looks like
Yeah. Is that a smiley? Now I'm like searching everywhere.
that could have been.
Yeah, that was a nerve-wracking night actually. When you start looking for kind of like a needle in a haystack, you just look at everything becomes, you know, the guy with the hammer, everything's a nail. You know, like
what is it? Pareidolia?
What's that?
Pareidolia, like seeing things that aren't there, like your mind's making them into those things.
Yeah.
Like even right
Look,
there.
look.
You can reach that.
Look, smiley.
You got one.
Yeah, no money.
Well, you got one. That's kind of like, except for this more tripping down, but that's like ours.
And I'm not trying to suggest that those are connected to this.
Right.
It's just more like, you know, it's interesting to see it where you were talking
It's
about.
usually, like you said, in the bar area, so that's why you do the alleys and the backyard. I do the bathrooms, you know.
What are a few of the things you guys are looking for right now?
What? Symbols?
Yeah, like there's a smiley.
Yeah, like I tell you, that's the
He knows
that's the gang symbols and stuff. You know, like I told you, with the Bloods, the Crips, the Hell's Angels, the Caruchamachos, the Sinaloa cartel. It's the same we're looking for, you know.
What about this upside down cross?
What do you say? What is it? Upside down. We see that a lot.
Yeah, that could go.
We've seen that. We've seen that at the scene of down the street from Noah.
Really?
Yeah, two blocks north of Noah.
I mean, that's how we got 13 symbols. Otherwise, we only have the smiley face and the one gang symbol. But I got 11 other symbols besides that.
In the symbols, you have identified the symbols just because you've analyzed these scenes and noticed that there were patterns to them?
Yeah, same other symbols at different locations. And by having, you know, I don't know, maybe anywhere from minimum 5,000 to 10,000 followers, maybe there's 75, maybe there's 88, or maybe there's 96, but we're in there close to the 10,000 range. If you look at them, you can go, hey, we said, wait. Didn't we see that one in Ohio? Oh, yes, and then we click it. Okay, that one. Now we know that Chicago has the number 4th symbol, and so as does Minnesota. So, you know, we have a checkerboard box of the things, and like this. And here's the symbols 1 to 13. And on the side are the states. Or the states are on top and the symbols are over here. And then we just put them in the box underneath the state. And you see Minnesota has, like I told you, 1, 2, 5, 7, 9. Wisconsin has 1, 2, 9, 10, and 12. New York has 1, 2, 4, 7, 11, 13. You know, it just keeps going on like that. And Canada has them. And, you know.
You want to talk about that? It's not just the symbols; it's also the numbers.
So there's a whole bunch of them. There's numbers and a whole bunch of things. So I look at the numbers and I look at the symbols. I'm not going to give everything.
Right, you don't give it, but that's an aspect, but you don't give it what it is, of course.
So, we're going to go to
Salt shed.
yeah, we're going to go
Noah.
to the shed and Noah and go from there.
Yep, all right, cool. Let's probably go up north here and take Ontario out. We'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll follow you, man.
Every week here on the channel, we give away a free gift bag to one lucky viewer of the show. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is like today's video, be sure to hit the like button, and this week, comment the words Smiley Face in the comment section of the video. All of your likes, shares, and comments help boost the engagement of the videos and help push them out so that more people can see the truth behind what we're talking about here. I'm gonna give you guys 10 seconds to comment that now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you to everybody who shows up every week and who watches the videos. I love and appreciate every single one of you who is a member of the Spooky family. But anyways, y'all, let's get back to the documentary.
And out of the desperate search for a man who hasn't been seen since Monday, Noah Enos went to a concert at the Salt Shed on Goose Island, but he never made it home.
They put up this flyer tonight hoping someone in the community will recognize him and call police. His girlfriend tells me this is all very unusual and not like him.
I just want to know he's alive. I just want to know that he's safe. I'm sure he's scared. I'm scared.
Weiss says her boyfriend went to the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard concert with a coworker. He texted her and sent her messages on Snapchat throughout the night, including this picture. She says her last message from Noah was around 9 p.m. His phone died an hour later.
They did review some of the footage, and they saw him and his coworker walking around the venue at about 9:30 p.m. They said that the show ended at 10 p.m., so there's a 30-minute gap that they're looking into.
Noah's co-worker told Weiss the two got separated as the show was ending. Family and friends have been posting his pictures and sharing this flyer on social media to find him.
I love you so much. I miss you. I'm sick and crumbling without you.
Tonight, a heartfelt gathering where Noah Enos went missing last week.
And tonight, he is being remembered.
Yeah, guys, this vigil started around 8:20, 8:30 tonight, and it's still going on. A couple dozen people here for the 26-year-old man who, like you said, went missing a couple of weeks ago, was missing for several days. His body pulled just steps away from this venue out of the Chicago River about a week ago.
Justice for Noah! Justice for Noah! Justice for Noah! Justice for Noah!
But his family says to remember all the young people who've gone missing in Chicago and were recovered in bodies of water. Enos was attending a concert 2 weeks ago but never returned home. He was last seen on the venue's surveillance video leaving the venue and heading northbound. His girlfriend and brother searching the area for days. But then last Saturday, his body was discovered in the Chicago River. Noah's dad says tonight this vigil is about finding justice for his son and for others.
So Noah drowned. The lumen contains approximately 50 milliliters of crown liquid, partially digested food. That's where we told one of our victims was that what happened was we knew from what he was eating that night, he was supposed to be eating chicken and there was ground beef in the stuffing, or he ate ground beef and he had chicken in him, which told us that he didn't die that night, that somebody held him for a period of time where they were actually feeding him. And that's why the body looked like he hadn't been put in the water, almost like Raleigh Strain, where I can tell you Raleigh Strain wasn't missing for 14 days. I mean, he's missing for 14 days, but he wasn't dead for 14 days. Somebody put him in the last night. So where was he for 13 days? Those would be things like that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we had one of the cases where they were looking for hair on the individual. I don't know if it was Chris Jenkins at one time or somebody else, because they said he was clean shaved when he went out. Now all of a sudden he had hair on like the beard, especially somebody who's really proficient at growing a beard. It would be quickly that even if they killed him and they only held him for one day, the fact that it grew, it looked like he didn't die that night. You know what I mean? So these are little things that, you know, we look for. A lot of people are not looking for that, you know. With Noah went to the concert, the salt shed, there's an individual in question here that I need to really do some work on, but he kind of lured him to the salt shed, and then he went in and also, well, he lost sight of him, which could happen in a large venue, but especially at night. But I mean, this guy seemed like he was really obsessed with him and wanted him to be there. And it first sounded like the girlfriend was going until he goes, "Oh, I only got 2 tickets," and she was like, "Oh, well, you just go." So that could have been the ruse, you know what I mean? But then again, in the bar, I heard, I mean, in the concert, heard he was online, and he may have had a drink for somebody else, so you don't know. Yeah, have a sip. We're drinking some vodka here. You know, who knows? And then they stalk you and follow you for the night, you know, and just wait for you. I mean, because supposedly he was seen walking home, and the one thing Jordan did good is he went to one of the scenes and went around from where he was. I told him where to go, and then he found that smiley face, and then I went there and I told him, which I don't want to put this on film, I said, "This is what I'm looking like. You know what it is, but I don't want to get into that."
Mm-hmm.
But I said, this is significant from the ritualistic aspect. So that one I'm not as worried about as specifically who the group is, but it's more than just, you know, a symbol like that.
So what happened to Noah? What are the basic facts? I mean, I know. But.
He went to the salt shed for a concert. The thing that really got me with that concert was the name of the band, and I went to see them when they were in Minnesota somewhere. It was the King Lizard and the Gizzard something. So it was almost like they were telling you.
Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
The Lizard Wizard. So it was kind of like, are they doing some kind of hocus pocus or you kind of a thing? You know, some kind of hoax to or something to kind of gain control of you.
Right.
You know, and the gizzard is like down to like your internal organs, like, so you don't usually get the gizzard until you're deceased. That almost like was a sign, like we had in the one I told you out in Brooklyn, you know, by the mirage that Jordan was talking about before, like, oh yeah, is it this? And I told you, is it that? Not only that, but the water that runs together and the creeks where the 3 bodies were found were Newtown Creek and English Kills. So English Kills runs into Newtown Creek. So what they're telling you is there's a killing here and it's related to a serial killer. Because what was one of the biggest killings of young people? The Newtown shooting up in Connecticut, where they killed all those young children in grammar school. So if you don't think that's a message, they'll leave a message. And we went there just recently. Again, that symbol's were there. Me and my partner who's going to be retiring soon from the NYPD. He's a big boss. And I got pictures of him. I pointed to the stuff. I took pictures. It all fits in. And there was also numbers right by the bar that was also significant for with the group. So, I mean, this is what we got. I'm going to show you one of the signs on the corner here where we found where a smiley face was.
So he was here that night and exited out of the doors, the main doors up here. That you can see him on. We have footage of him on camera. Kind of. I wouldn't consider what he was doing stumbling around. He's just kind of maybe a little bit aimless, but basically it's pretty much you see him kind of do some circling, kind of looking at his phone. Doesn't look like he's necessarily looking for his party that he was here with his it's not his friend, it was a coworker. It was a coworker. I mean, they were very loosely associated. They didn't work together even that long. Noah wasn't even in Chicago that long. You know, he wasn't even in the area that long. He didn't, and neither was this guy. So that's kind of interesting in and of itself. There would have been the main exit doors, probably those big black ones, like they. But the security pushes the crowd, you know, in either direction, but mostly this way. But in either direction, it seems like everybody, and we know from the report, he walked northbound on East and Elston Avenue, northbound Elston Avenue. Now where it gets, and this is probably not a conspiracy, it's just bad report writing. Kevin knows what I'm talking about with police reports. Yeah, they're just vague, you know, they're ambiguous. So it doesn't say there's a split right up here, there's a Y, You can see there's a street going this way, shooting straight east-west. There's another street at the angle street, the street that we parked on. I think that's Magnolia, right? Magnolia. Right. And then, so it doesn't say, is he walking northbound past this intersection? Right. Or does he divert this way, that way, that way?
Right, which is the water's right over here to the right. So, you know, does he make a 90-degree turn?
Like it was left that way on purpose, open to interpretation, but whatever. Right. Maybe it's just loosey-goosey writing. But point being, we seen symbolism up there, right. But we did see symbolism up there that is indicative of, you know, the one is a smiley face up there, right. But there's other symbolism as well, and some of the other ones I'm gonna leave alone for right now. And also, that side street, it leads up against Uber. It kind of Uber's on North Avenue. That's the next main street. Crossing east-west is North Avenue, and so it seems likely Uber was one of them that wouldn't give me footage. But they were another one that said law enforcement never visited, for the record. BP is across the street, British Petroleum, right? They have great cameras. It's lit up like a Christmas tree on that intersection. They're right on the corner. I went there on day 11. Their cameras expired on day 7, which is crazy in this day and age, but they were gone. Law enforcement never visited there as well. So I believe it seems most likely, because I did get 2 sets of separate building cameras on Elson Avenue, also that law enforcement never visited. I gotta throw it in every time because it's true. Those cameras we reviewed pretty thoroughly, right, Kevin? I mean, yeah, we didn't see them. I mean, we reviewed pretty thoroughly. We didn't see him. So it seems most likely he took that detour, in my humble opinion. Otherwise, the cameras on this street would have picked him up, which they didn't. Right. So the only other possibility is Magnolia, and he went off in this way and fell into the water, according to the theory. The problem with that is, we talked to the mechanic shop up here on their video cameras, and they got a nice coverage on the rear of their property. They didn't see him. He's not seen on those. So it's unlikely that he went that route. It's much more likely he went up that way, which we don't have British Petroleum, we don't have Uber's cameras, so we don't know what happened from there. Where did he go from there? We don't know.
Yeah, his our paranormal device just said justice.
Really?
No. Hey, I like that.
Really?
Interesting. He was just running in the background.
Well, that's why. Listen, this is not far from his stuff. This is.
So this is, yes, this is.
We were on this side, though, right? We were in this part when I found that.
We were on the other side, actually, along the. I mean, if we could do that, but it's a little. It's rough terrain, yeah. It's rough terrain at night, yeah.
So there was a canoe.
Yeah.
This is where the letter is, right?
Yeah.
Where the girlfriend wrote the letter.
She left it with some flowers along the edge here, and the canoe was right over here on the other side of this graded fence.
Right here.
So it's no longer there?
It was a red canoe. I don't see it.
Careful, man. Well, the other one's gone, so I would watch your step there, man, at the dip.
Yeah, the canoe was like right over here on this side. We went around the fence.
We did.
Yeah, dropped down, and there was.
We were scaling. Yeah, it was more over there, but.
But you can see. Look in here. See, here's a rope. Somebody tied this to.
Well, no, maybe I'm mistaken.
No,
that's definitely a drop right there.
Yeah, well, look at this. Look at here.
Oh, mother.
So this is where.
So this is it.
This is where they tied it right here.
The canoe was tied with this?
Son of a.
Right down here. That's why I was walking with him. I said,
pardon my language.
Let's go. And I said, what do you see? Here's what? Canoe.
So what's the deal with the canoe?
Who knows? Somebody's got a canoe. They could take him, put him in a box, put him in a canoe, and whisk him away.
You guys came out here though and saw that.
We seen why especially.
We got the name of the canoe. We got a picture.
Why especially was significant is one of the other scenes that we went to. Let's go into that. I mean, it was at Inyaki Bascaran scene where his body was found. There wasn't just a canoe. There was a setup there. There was like.
We take them to the thing.
You went there. It's gone now though.
The whole setup's gone. Even the wood thing where the tables with the lights, the nice lights. It was like a city.
It was like somebody created their little setup.
You know, like if you had a patio in the backyard with all wood.
Sit there and drink.
And they had like those Christmas lights, and you could sit and watch the boats go by up and down the river.
Concrete chair. It was like a concrete chair.
They had a concrete bench.
Looked like skilled artisans, frankly.
I mean, it was beautiful. I'm like, what a place. Then they had a big white, maybe 12-foot long, big container that was locked. We didn't have a bolt cutter. I was leaving the next day. We were going to cut it just to see what's inside. I mean, definitely big enough to put a body,
biggest
much
regret
like
from that
2 or
is-
3 laying on top of each other. But not that they did that, but it looked like somebody was there. Who knows? Maybe they had, because they had the key. Maybe they had some food, like liquids or something to keep it cool. You don't know what it was, but it was set up. I can't believe it went down. They took it down.
No, it's gone. It's
Wow.
But you saw a red canoe at both of the scenes?
Yeah, it was good. Well, I don't know if the other one was red though. To be honest
No,
with
I
you,
don't know.
there was more, and there was multiple oars at that one.
Yeah.
It was definitely
There was-
well versed person in canoeing. And what's interesting, there's a canoe place that sells and rents canoes right up here.
There was maybe like three or four of them. I don't know how many they had.
At that one over there? Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was multiple. At least
Yeah,
that
so
many.
it was,
Yeah.
I don't know, red, blue.
This one was just one, but right up there
Must be
is
nice
a
to
place that's their place of business. They've been here for forever. That place, I remember there was a reason I didn't probe into them deeper. I believe it was because the owner at the time, it was an operation prior to his missing, but it was a different owner. It's how I recall. There was a reason why I didn't probe that deeper.
You want to see where Noah's body was recovered?
Yeah.
It's not far from you, right?
No. So the other side of that bridge right there, you see that bridge? Just on the other side of it. So the symbolism is not just the secret.
I'd love to go see that smiley face if it's there.
I've had supernatural experiences, so I'm not one of those naysayers. I don't know what they mean, but I've had them. Just had one about 2 weeks ago. And they did, and they, the same thing they've done about maybe 2 months prior to that. It's just a very little gesture, a little tap on the head, just kind of waking me up. And it's not like, it's very distinct. It's like, okay, that was not my dreams and my imagination. There's nobody else here. I look at it like it's just like I'm letting you know I'm here.
Right.
I'm letting you know that this is outside of the physical plane, and and yet here I am. I can still do it. Now what that means, I don't know. I don't know if it means anything deeper than that. I look at it just like a way of confirming my faith that there's more to life than this.
Right.
So.
Well, at the scene of the recovery, I want to do a spirit box session, so you'll get to see it firsthand. So what are we looking at here?
This was a smile.
And there was an eye as well.
And then here, but here was where the damage. It was the word. It wasn't the fence.
Spelled out the word.
Yeah.
Spelled out.
And then with an eye though too, wasn't there an eye?
So when you guys are looking at symbols like this, what differentiates this smiley face from others?
Well, first we know we're looking for smileys, and the other stuff, the other symbols that go with it, like the other 12 symbols. But
That's right there,
also,
the conjunction.
what?
The conjunction right there is the combination.
But
together.
the other thing is, not every smiley face is the same. You could still have two different kind of smileys in Chicago because somebody else could paint it. If there's 8 to 20 guys, or guys and gals in a cell, you might not all paint the same, but a lot of times they have them similar. So we say that the smiley in Chicago might be different than the one in Wisconsin. It might be different from the one in New York or whatever.
Right.
Some may be a full circle, and they might have 2 dot eyes. Some will have eyes with the eyes running, like as if it's a tear, like crying. Some will have, straight line down. Some will have like some of the places in Wisconsin we have them with the X's on the eyes. So there's a whole bunch of different.
So then
You can see it.
that from it.
You didn't say it, but
Alright, sorry. That eye. See that eye?
Can you zoom that out a tiny bit?
So you can get the smiley with it.
you think, or I could even say you know, that these people who commit these crimes will leave these symbols, not just specifically for you, but for people that know what they're doing, as in some cases like a taunting measure, other cases marking territory.
Yeah, both. You know?
And your guys' thought is that this may have been painted by, you know, this group.
Oh yeah, because it's not, you know, it's even the fact that they put it on the hideout. You know, like,
right.
We like that. We did scope out the hideout. We didn't find anything compelling in there.
Yeah, but it's not far from where Noah was. It could be like.
Yeah.
You see the phone number across the street?
Yeah, no, I do. 666. We had that picture of that. I mean, it's, you know, they could have dropped him off and came up here, or they could have marked this before they did it. You know,
right?
And you know, they abducted him and killed him, and you know, it's just part of their whole message, ideology. You know, who they are as a team. You know,
here's the thing about like the nature of pathology. If you're just committing a perfect murder and getting away with it, and nobody ever knows nothing, and the only story that we have is it's just a bunch of conjecture, and everyone who thinks it's homicide, right, is just stupid, and they're kind of chucked off. Eventually, they're not going to listen to them at all. There's going to be no intrigue, no buzz, as it were. So then you kind of got to ask from a pathological perspective, what's the point? You know, why are you even doing it? They want a little bit of, I believe they want a little bit of a challenge.
Recognition. Well, also recognition.
Yeah, recognition.
People want recognition for their work, and especially if they're thwarting the police and everything. It's like, man, we can, like I said, get to the point now where they can just say, we can do whatever we want. They're not even looking at these things. They could care less about it. We could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. You know, same kind of nonsense. You know what I mean? And this is basically what it is. I mean, is anybody going to take this seriously? Oh, just those crazy guys from New York again talking about this and, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not. Because obviously it's somebody's child, and they're being murdered.
When you think about it, though, just the inclusion of the smiley face symbol to me is like they're doing it so that you see the pattern, but it's so easy to write someone off.
Right.
Oh, I'm seeing smiley faces everywhere,
right.
And you know, you're talking like crazy to most people
right.
who haven't read into this world or even looked at the facts beyond a news article.
Right.
And typically when they write about smiley face, I've read through so many of the articles, it's very skeptical.
Sure.
You know, that's what comes up, like debunking or drowning the smiley face.
And the first thing they say is you can find a smiley face under every bridge, like if the kids were near bridges and water.
Yeah, Center for Homicide Research. The guy had no experience working on homicides.
What I tell you. Tell them about homicide.
Yeah.
The Center for Homicide Exchange. Now, exchange what? Where's the exchange of information? Bring me your evidence. Right. Bring me your cases. I'll show you mine. You tell me why this is a homicide. Right? I could dispel anything that they come up with.
Yeah, and the FBI, what did they? I mean, they said something very brief.
No, they were nice.
There's no conclusive evidence that these are serial in nature.
Right.
But that's just they're just more or less being very straight laced, by cookie cutter. Can't fault them for that. There's nothing wrong with that. But to denounce it, you know, to just straight up trounce it. There's nothing here. The way the homicide research and that's PR. That's PR.
Yeah. Especially if you're not even. You don't have even a uniform cop in there. Forget a detective, forget a homicide detective, forget a supervisor of homicide detectives, and forget a forensic expert. You're talking about, and like I said, I stopped the execution 3 weeks before it happened with two of the leading forensic pathologists in the country who concurred with my assessment. So I'm not a complete imbecile, you know, but these knuckleheads are out there spewing, like you said, just venom on BS that they can't substantiate. Just like, we looked at these, there's nothing. What did you look at? Give me the evidence. Show me what you got. I just read to you some of these autopsies, why this one's a drowning, why this one isn't, why my reason was for even the ones that have very little water. Could it be a dry drowning? Which Jordan asked me, which is, he playing the part of Anthony, who was a big skeptic.
Which
Anthony,
there is a
that doubts everything, says to make sure I can answer the question, because if you can't answer that question when somebody's doubting, then you got a blank spot. If you got a blank spot or a blank space, as Taylor Swift would say, you got a, you know.
Ask the viewer to join in on the comments too, because he mentioned something. There's a medical term for that. What are you talking about? The asphyxiation or the it's
larynx spasm. A larynx spasm.
I think that might be it.
That's your larynx.
And there's there generally is a correlation with that in incidences of dry drowning.
Dry drownings.
So if you're not seeing that, you can't just call
so
it a dry drowning.
So it's got a dry drowning, then that the larynx should be like, you know, very taut. If it's regular, you know.
There was something else though.
But they could also say, you know, after death, your muscles relax, or maybe the larynx relaxes. Just like a lot of times people vacate their bowels, so. You know, it would be a little harder to prove, but with the other things I was talking about before, those guys are just, you know, they're just speaking, and they have really nothing to back it up for. So then, you know, it's just, you know, they're taking headlines from a newspaper somebody said, and that makes it.
I think it's generally evidentiary of a sign of struggle, though, too. I think that there was other incident. There's other inferences from those autopsies that have the. Say it again. I'm sorry, Larry.
The larynx spasm.
The larynx spasm. That when those coincide with the dry drowning, that there's other. Those tend to. I wish there's a pathologist that'll watch this and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they tend to align then with struggle in the expiry. That there tends to be a struggle. So if you're not seeing that, then you're not. You know, you can't just chalk it up to that. You're not. There's not other aspects associated with the sign of struggle.
And believe me, if there was, like I said, 1%, so 99% of the cases.
It reminds me of that Center for Homicide Research. Reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the group, but it was that group in the 80s when there were all the ritual abuse cases of children in daycares.
The daycare, you mean? The
Presidio daycare system.
McMart was a big one, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that group came in and said, these kids are clearly being coached. I can't remember the name of the group. Right. But it turned out later on, people found out the founders of the group who were making all these claims had published a magazine with child in it for decades in California. And they were the ones that were the experts.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Thanks for telling me about that. If you think about that, if you send me something, I want to look into that.
There's a great book about it that's so interesting. It was infiltrated with the CIA too. People had grandfathers and sisters in the CIA. So.
Wow.
It's a different rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out, is that a smiley face or am I going crazy over there? Do you see that on the side of that building? Or is that a shadow?
Oh, right up here?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it was for. You know, last time I was here was like 6 months ago. We go look.
I don't see it.
Want me to run over and look?
They
have a smiley face. It looks good though.
I thought I got something for you guys, man.
Like the two eyes and that, but most of the time it doesn't have a nose, so the little one that's slid down is like the nose. It looks like a face. I was like, oh, did I miss that? I'm like, I started all of a sudden, you know, I started getting that like, I missed it? I'm like, I thought everything's got to line up, and I'm like, that's bad. That's really bad. And you're making me look bad on camera.
But when we were, I was gonna point out too, when we were down there, on that corner, that's where they held the vigil for Noah. And there was an individual. Remember I told you about this? It might have been nothing, but there was an individual. I was away doing. Oh, me and the brother. Noah's brother. There was a key. It was like an old school key, like something like you would see in like a scary movie to open an old.
Like a chess key.
Yes, it was. Right. It was sitting there on the fence right across from where where they were doing the filming for the vigil. And so we were looking into that, and he pointed it out to me, and we ended up like walking around those bushes over there. I don't know, but I was temporarily away, and I came back after maybe not even 30 seconds to a minute, and they all told me, yeah, some guy was walking by, and he was being kind of creepy, just kind of looking at us, and I was like, I didn't see this. I don't know. That's what their opinion was, and they pointed out, there he is right there. He was probably halfway up the block, walking towards North Avenue. So I got in my car. And I drove down North Avenue to cut him off. He was walking across the river, and I parked in this little this little Jiffy Lube or someplace right across the river. I waited for him to go past me. I tried to get a photo of him, but I can show the photo, but it doesn't matter because it's his back. I got his back. I didn't get a good shot of him. And I waited for him then at the Chase Bank across the river over there. Long story short, he took a right at that corner where there's a Whole Foods over there, and there was nothing else where he could have went. I got on my car at that point, looked for him on foot, couldn't find him. I went down by the river to look for this guy. It's like, well, where did he go? There was no, I don't know. I'll never know if it was something. Because also there was another guy, and this fits in step with your theory that I don't think you have talked about on the air. But he fit that mold, he fit that makeup, okay? And we were out the day that I was first out canvassing with the family, and this is the kind of stuff where it's like you'll never know if it's confirmation bias or not. You'll never know. But he walked by me, and he fit the profile that Kevin knows about for various reasons, and he just had a face of anger on it, you know. So these are things that you look for when you're out, and you just don't know. You try to test the evidence, you try to catch them in the act. If I would have ran up on him, who knows where I would have took it? I don't know. Right. I would have questioned him. I would have, you know, but I didn't catch him. So
we hear about that stuff in Austin too. Like the woman I interviewed said she went investigating herself that there was a man down in the brush that she asked a question too, and he took off running, and then she talked to a homeless woman who said your husband was murdered, that she took off running. Right. So it's like there's all sorts of this weirdness.
When you want to go back to Austin, let me know. We'll go down there, because I got a guy down there that basically confirmed, and his friend, what they knew. They came up with the group out of nowhere. I was like, I'm telling you, this is what's going on down here. I was like, okay, yes, I'm listening, man. Just tell me, how do you know? And it was, they were on it, man. They were on it.
At this point, Kevin and Jordan decided to take us to one of the darkest places of the evening, the actual location where Noah Enos's body was recovered.
He was up just a little bit further, just up here, right on the other side of the bridge, and they basically pulled him over this way, pulled him up onto this dock.
Yeah, this is a little spooky.
Can you see on the other side of where those
pillars? Yeah.
Yeah. Those,
oh, you're pointing out where salt shed is?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Now there's a salt shed, but I'm saying he was found around what these big, whatever these barrels are.
That last one right there, where we can tell from what I understand.
On the left,
right
to see it. The one closest to him. It was like right over there.
And a little closer to the wall here too, on the other.
So this shadowed one is where he was found.
No, the one with the yellow the one to the left, right?
Oh, right around the corner.
Shadow on it, but further in.
Further in, almost towards where the other one is.
The wall, though.
Between those.
That's where Noah was found.
Yeah.
And they pulled his body up here.
And they pulled it over.
Boat.
Take it up for
sure. Then we took the boat out, pulled them up under here.
Well, you guys want to try this little spirit box with us?
Yeah, sure. I would love it.
So, this is a spirit box that we use in paranormal investigating, right. And it essentially scans through radio frequencies, which people theorize spirits are able to speak through on just frequencies that we can't hear with our own ears.
Right.
So this is a device that analyzes EMF in the environment, and
what's EMF?
How do we fix this? Electromagnetic frequency.
Yeah, right. EMF. Okay.
So any fluctuation in the EMF, this is like a $800 device.
Make me think of the movie Frequency. Great movie.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's exactly what I was thinking.
But it'll take that fluctuation, the deviation value, put it through an algorithm, give you a word or a phrase.
Right.
So that's the theory behind this device. We've received some unbelievably bizarre things through this.
Well, you got my name. That's as bizarre as it gets.
I know. So I guess we can all, if you guys want to ask a question, we can ask questions. We're kind of used to it. And by the way, we don't speak to victims. That's a big thing that we point out. We just speak to anybody who might be here in the environment. That's mainly for us to avoid like anybody getting upset over what we do. Even though I've had tons of family members that wanted to come out and have us come do this with them, so it's.
So that's the choice, because I'm glad you told me that, because I was about to say.
So if anybody's here with us right now, if you can hear our voices, see this light, we're speaking right now to anybody or anything that would be in this area. My name's Colin.
Jordan.
Kevin.
Connor.
Mary.
We just want to say hi, welcome you in, and we want to ask a few questions about the body that was pulled out of the water near here. Is there somebody with us right now? You can say your name, hi, hello, you can say anything. Is there somebody here with us?
Thank you. Turn that down. Are we making anybody uncomfortable? We just want to know. We want to know.
Calm. Right when you said uncomfortable, it says calm.
We want to know.
Yeah.
We're not here to create any stress. We want to know if our victim is okay. If his spirit is okay.
Nifty. Nifty. You want to ask something?
So you are okay with our presence and what our motivation for being here is?
A roebuck.
Roebuck. Roebuck.
We just
methionine?
I don't know, is that methionine? Is that a drug? We want to know if his spirit is safe.
Seashell? Question marks? Will you show the camera that? That's really bizarre. Never
Question marks.
I know.
They observe.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Well, we observe what had transpired here. We want to know if our victim has adjusted to his new environment. Because there's people that love him and are concerned about him.
Was there anybody here when that body was put in the water?
Control.
I know what happened.
We know what we believe happened to our victim. Has he adjusted to a spiritual world because his family are concerned about him?
Ancestry, right when you said family.
Does the machine just pick up words and follow that, or no? Or is the spirit thing?
Yeah, no, there's no mic or anything on this.
Yeah, yes, his family is concerned, and they're worried that
I thought I heard something.
he's still in trauma, and they want to know that he's safe. That's what it says. They're worried about him. Now she's saying like Valentine, like love, that he's okay.
You said also there's symbolism to holidays.
Yeah.
I want to ask whoever's here personally, so when this body we believe was placed in the water, did you see anything that you can remember about the person or persons who placed this body in the water? like attributes, physical attributes, clothing they were wearing, the amount of people that were here. Did you see anything that night? Nobody.
Did our victim suffer before he passed?
Scad? Peaceful.
Oh my God, I read my mind. I was going to say, but is he peaceful now? Is he in a peaceful place? But it said peaceful. That was crazy because I was about to ask that. But then if I said that, I say, oh, it just picked up my voice. The fact that it did it.
But I mean, you just asked too, was there suffering?
Barber. Yeah, Barber. I don't know what Barber is. Is he okay now? Is he adjusted? Is he safe? We'd like to be able to tell his loved ones that he is okay and he's watching over them. Her father there. No.
Was there more than one person here on that night?
That's a good question. Bereaved, actually. Yeah.
Did you see more than one person? I thought I heard female.
Boastful.
Boastful.
What word?
Yeah. Leaving markings. Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me there was multiple people with him that night?
Jocelyn. Massachusetts.
Jeez. Get up from Massachusetts.
That's where they're from.
Who was? Oh, yeah?
They're from there. I
No.
swear to God. I swear to God.
You're kidding me.
I swear to God.
Oh.
What do you mean?
They're from there.
The group?
No. Noah and his brother originally from
Noah's
there.
from Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Oh, you just say you said a victim. I thought you didn't want to put the names out.
No, we can talk about him
Yeah.
if it's in relation to it.
Oh, I didn't think you wanted to
crazy.
mention his name, though.
No, that's crazy.
They're from Cape Cod.
Wow.
And now it's doing it again. It's like, now it's going over and over again. Now it's just running it. Like telling you like 3 times. It hasn't done that. It just does one and then it writes it below. But it's running non-stop.
Is that a way of saying maybe too that that's where he is? He's with the people he loves.
Planetarian.
Man, that's what
That
I
time
would
to
take
make me
that
think
as.
celestial.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So is he safe now?
Wow. I wasn't ready for that.
That's crazy.
Help?
Help? I heard help.
Watch yourself here, man. You're a little close.
You're sitting over here.
Hey, if I fall in, I'm not.
No.
Not like the camera.
You drop like a rock. I go in there. You know, I'll be floating for the next 5 hours.
Yeah, I'll get in. We'll all get in. It'll be anarchy. Breakfast Club, anyone?
Is there any message you want to give us, whoever we're speaking with? And sometimes what happens with this device is I'll go through when I'm editing and slow stuff down.
Oh, so you can hit it.
And like we've gotten names of perpetrators that we didn't even know existed until after when I researched on these videos. Like this thing's pretty crazy.
There was a
Well, you got the Kevin, don't-
person of interest. I just haven't said his name out loud. I thought I might have heard his name.
Really?
Yeah.
This is super cool. So this is a DR60. It's highly sought after. But It's an old 1990s voice recorder, the Paranormal.
No, just kidding. Yeah.
But researchers regard this as like the holy grail of vocal recorders. Did you see anything on the night that a body was placed into the water near here?
Was the man's body placed in the river?
Was our victim's body placed in the river close to here where he was recovered, or was it farther away? Were multiple participants involved with this murder? Did our victim suffer much through this procedure?
Is there anything else whoever's here would like to tell us? I don't know. This just stopped responding completely.
It's like they were letting this thing take
Yeah,
over.
it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it stopped.
You want to listen?
Yeah.
I'll let you get up here. You want to put the... I'll hold the camera just so I can get this audio.
On the night that a body was placed into the water near here.
Oh, that's you.
Was the man's body placed in the river? Was the victim's body placed in the river close to here where he was recovered? Or was it farther away?
I think that's the car.
Now it is the bridge? Yeah. So we wouldn't hear anything anyway now with the stupid thing.
It was completely quiet after your last question, so this might be better.
Did our victim suffer much through this procedure? Is there anything else whoever's here would like to tell us?
No? There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
This was pretty good though, because when I was like, I asked a question when that thing came to
Yeah,
Postal.
three different times that you seemed to be in sync with what you were saying, or
Yeah,
the third one being what you were thinking, not even saying.
And what was I thinking? Oh, that time I was thinking about, oh, it's peaceful or something with you, and then all of a sudden I came up. So that was kind of wild, brother.
It's crazy, Massachusetts.
I mean, that's
That-
hard to
yeah,
believe.
And you know it's real because he goes like, he got that. You want me to hold it on the way out?
Hold it.
You got enough for him.
Yeah, I wasn't even planning on participating per se, because it's not that I just got done talking about it that I believe. It's just I have a thing where you feel like you connect to it inner and through here, and I don't like to verbalize it. But that's just my thing, I like, because obviously that was, I don't know how to refute that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, actually.
I mean,
Before we go, I want to ask one more question and just see if I can scan back and hear an answer later on. Just really clearly.
Had to be a truck of everything.
I know. Before we leave, I just want to ask, we'll give you a little bit of time to try and respond if you can. Do you remember anything physically about the people who were here when the body was placed in the water? Any description that you can give us at all? Hair color, clothing, a name?
Color white, black.
Money, I heard. With the hat, I heard. Money again, twice money. Anything else you remember? We're about to get out of here. No.
That's good, but
Wow.
yet.
That's crazy.
pretty blunt.
Yeah. Thank you to anybody who was here. I want to say that personally. I I'm gonna leave good energy here.
Me
kinda
too.
like we tend to do. And yeah, thank you. We just really appreciate whoever was here, and specifically to Noah, if there's any of his energy here. I think we can all say that we hope you're in a better place and that he's not here.
You're missed, my friend. You're missed badly, deeply by your family and your girlfriend and everybody. So you were loved, my friend. Take comfort in that.
I just got a very overwhelming sense of sadness when you said that. Just kind of like, wow.
This is part of this whole thing. That's what makes it so difficult, believe me. I was telling your mom, I gotta get this freaking boulder off my back, man, so I can put this out, so I can. Where that boulder tumbles, so the other people didn't do what they're supposed to do. They have to answer to why not, but somebody's gonna have to look into this. So.
We gotta figure it out. It's our job.
At the end of the day, even though we weren't leaving Chicago with the answers that we wanted, our investigation into the mysterious drowning deaths in the city hopefully will help to raise awareness within the general public that these things are happening. As you can see, when you take a closer look at the deaths of these innocent men, things just don't add up. There are unexplainable injuries, mysterious people seen with victims on the night that they go missing, timelines that don't make sense, suspicious missing footage, and so much more. We've seen patterns like this happen in cities across America. In fact, men are still actively drowning like this in Austin, Texas, and I explored that series of potential crimes in a documentary that I produced last year. We also investigated another cluster of drownings extremely similar to these earlier this year that occurred in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. But until the police and local authorities actually start investigating these events as potential homicides instead of accidents, nothing is going to change. The family members of the victims will not receive the justice that they're entitled to, and crimes like this will unfortunately keep occurring. The smiley face theory is highly controversial, and yet spending time with Kevin and Jordan crawling through the underbelly of the dark, seedy world of Chicago, one can't help but be fully convinced that this is, or could be, exactly what's happening here. At minimum, people who watch a documentary like this have to admit to themselves that none of this really makes sense. There are so many things that don't make sense, and Kevin has the documents and data to back up all of his assertions. But at the end of the day, I guess it's just all one big mystery, and it will remain one big mystery until the police start taking these things seriously. Anyways, thank you for joining us for tonight's episode. This is a story that I deeply care about at this point, and I conducted an in-depth interview with Kevin, which is going to be on the channel soon, where we explore every facet of the Smiley Face case, talk about some of the specific disappearances that he has been on the ground investigating. Anyways, y'all, thank you for joining tonight. My name's Colin Browen. I will see you next week. Thanks for watching, and stay spooky.
Hello!